Imagine if you could easily find solutions to make your region or city smarter, greener, better connected, more social, and closer to citizens. The Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform can help you access knowledge about the latest policy trends, discover expert-validated good practices from all over Europe, find solutions in our peer review, get tailored support from our expert team. We can connect you with the right people and organizations. Together, we will find ways to solve your region's or city's challenges. Start your policy learning journey today.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this first episode of our Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform webinar series on blue-green infrastructure for resilient cities. So with this first episode this week, we will focus on the blue aspects and we will speak about sustainable water management. My name is Astrid Severin and I am a thematic expert for Greener Europe at the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform. I would also like you to welcome my expert colleagues Magda Michaliková, who's also a thematic expert for Greener Europe, and Valentine Dufay from our communications team, who makes sure that everything works well. Before we start, as always, some housekeeping rules. We're recording this webinar, and you will be able to find the recording online very soon, along with all the presentations that you will see today. We would also like to ask you not to be shy. Please write any questions that you may have in the chat. In the chat, you will also be able to find a lot of useful links and useful information. So don't hesitate to let us know in the chat where you're coming from. And finally, at the end of this webinar, you will have a survey that we are sharing with you. So please give us your feedback and let us know what other subjects you would find interesting. So I give the word to my colleague Magda to give us a short introduction of the agenda today.
Thank you very much, Astrid. And maybe before I go to my very short presentation, we have one poll for you that I would like to ask Valentine to share, where we are actually also asking where you're coming from, which type of organization you're coming from. So we should have it on the screen right now. So let us know if you're coming from an EU institution, from local, regional, or national authority. Maybe you're coming from a private sector or from a nonprofit, from academia, or something else. And yes, you can see the QR code on the screen. So if you launch that, then you can vote. So far we have a vast majority coming from local, regional, and national authorities. And then some coming from NGOs and academia. Also, thank you for engaging in the chat. Yeah, we can see a vast array of countries: France, Hungary, Slovenia, Ireland, Germany, Poland. So yeah, we have quite a good coverage across Europe. And I think the trend is pretty clear already, that most of you are coming from local, regional, and national authorities, which, well, I would say much higher percentage than we normally see. Like here, it's really, really the most of you. So thank you very much for voting. And then maybe we can also put on the word cloud now, before we go into the presentation. So since the topic of today is blue infrastructure and sustainable water management. We just wanted to ask you which blue infrastructure or nature-based solutions have been implemented in your city or region, just to kind of get a little overview. If you know, if you don't know, you can also write don't know. And we have some answers already popping up. Sustainable urban drainage systems, couple of times, rain gardens, green corridors, green blue roofs, floodable park. Urban forests. Yeah, green corridors and green roofs are the majority. Permeable paving, also very important. Hedges, restoration. I don't know if that's maybe a wetland restoration or forest restoration. All of these are very important. River restoration, also important, of course. Ponds. Great. Constructed wetlands. I can see in the chat. Somebody's also typing artificial wetlands. Awesome. Well, it's good to see that your regions are really working on this topic. We have quite a lot of things coming up, and that's very good. Hopefully, some of the other solutions that we will present here today will also be inspirational and maybe something that can be proposed further in your authorities. Okay, well, you can keep typing. We will have a look at this at the end. And now let me go into a little introduction. So thank you very much for engaging with us. And so this is the first of our webinars in the series. Welcome from our side, of course. We've Astrid already did that. For the agenda for today, we will start with a keynote presentation from Rene Reisner from the Ministry of Climate in Estonia. And he will speak about how they are trying to achieve climate resilience through sustainable water management. So he will share some very interesting examples that are done in Estonia. And then we will dive into our good practices, and we will hear 3 presentations. One presentation on urban distributed controlled micro retention system, a presentation on renaturalisation of the inland delta of the Nida River, and a presentation on public-private collaboration to buffer water against flooding and droughts. We also encourage you to ask questions to our speakers. You can type questions in the chat. We will take questions throughout the webinar, but also towards the end. And I would also like to bring your attention to a policy brief that we have just recently published on this topic. So it is kind of an add-on to this webinar series that we are organizing. Yes, you can have a look at the policy brief. We will share a link in the chat. You can find the policy context, so which EU policies are covering the topic. There's a part about the European financial support. So where can you get financing and funding for your projects related to green and blue infrastructure and nature-based solutions? I would like to highlight that there's a lot of money available for biodiversity spending, including green-blue infrastructure. So that is something through which you can access these funds. There is also a guest contribution from the European Environment Agency on nature-based solutions and ecosystem-based approaches in an urban context. And of course, many, many good practices from our projects and beyond, and also concrete policy recommendations. What we have coming soon are also the 2 other webinars in the series. So next week we will talk about green infrastructure, and the week after we will talk about citizens' participation in blue-green infrastructure. So if you haven't registered yet, we encourage you to do so. What I also want to mention is our service called peer reviews. Peer reviews are well, peer review is an opportunity for you to tackle your specific challenge. And over the 2 days, we invite experts on the dedicated challenge, and we discuss it and we give you recommendations. We have implemented over 85 peer reviews since 2019. It's a very successful thing. People really like it. We have 16 more peer reviews in the pipeline till the end of the year. So you can see that yes, there is quite a demand. And why I'm talking about it is because I wanted to mention some peer reviews that are relevant to our today's topic. We have had 2 recent peer reviews at the end of September on floods and droughts and sustainable water management, both in France. We've also had previously a peer review on a governance and collaboration for river restoration and blue-green infrastructure in Spain. And we've also had a peer review in Norfolk on protecting and recovering local biodiversity. So yes, these could also be interesting for you to maybe look into what kind of recommendations and results were achieved. Okay, so that's all from me for a little introduction, and I give the word back to Astrid.
Thank you very much, Magda. So you see, we have a lot of services, and we also have a lot of interest in the subject. So you can also always contact us if you have specific challenges that you would like to tackle and where our services could help you. So without further ado, we're really happy to have Rene Reisner with us from the Ministry of Climate from Estonia, recently renamed to that. So I think you will say a word about it. And he will share with us how they have been tackling the climate resilience through sustainable water management in Estonia. And we're very much looking forward to your keynote speech. So Rene, the word is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. I hope my presentation is visible for all of you.
It's visible. It's not yet in full mode, but it's okay.
Is it better now, or just give me some, or should I change something?
It's fine like that. I think it's big enough. Thank you.
So I'm happy to be the first one to speak today. And I will present the case study from Estonia on what we do in relation to climate resilience and sustainable water management. And indeed, as Astrid said, we have now a Ministry of Climate in Estonia, operational now for about 1 year. We used to be the Ministry of Environment, but as priorities change, policies change, we have to change our institutions, organizational settings, and also have to take account what is the best way to move forward, and that's why we had to change the way we work as well. Going on with the content of my presentation, first of all, I would like to say where is Estonia? This is a country entirely located in the catchment area of the Baltic Sea. We have rivers, we have lakes. Everything we do affects the sea, and we depend on the sea. And some of the significant water management issues we have are the agricultural pollution, different impacts in relation to the climate change.
Please put the next slide.
Sorry?
Please put the next slide. We see still the first slide.
I think you should just disable the plane mode and just show your screen like that. It's going to be easier, maybe.
Just let me start again. Is it better now?
Can
Yes,
you
now
just
it works.
move the slide just to see if we can see the slide moving? Yes,
Oh,
perfect.
now it's
Thank you
perfect.
so much.
All right. So here is Estonia. So that's what I wanted to say, that we have similar problems as in rest of the European countries, although the magnitude could be different. What has happened in Estonia during past 20 years? We have invested a lot into infrastructure, building up new wastewater treatment plants, new water supply systems. And when the time moves on, now in 2020 plus, we focus more on sustainable water management. We look what is going on, what's going to happen in the future, and how the climate change will affect our water management practices. So I've done a lot with infrastructure investments, and now looking forward to how to be resilient, how to stay resilient, how to take up these new challenges that are brought to us by the changing climate. And what we do every day, we do pretty much the same thing as any other European country. We do the river basin management plans, we do the flood risk management plans, and we do the spatial plans for regions at the national level, at the local level. But what is different now is that we are trying to change these plans that we have in place now. So what the change is that we are trying to make these plans more greener, more sustainable. And for that purpose, we have adopted several guidance documents. We have provided training for local governments, for officials dealing with plans. And so what we do in practice is that we are trying to make other relevant strategic documents to consider the changing climate. And one of the useful things that we did in relation to water management was that we worked with national guidance on how to decrease the vulnerability of water sector in Estonia. And we worked with specific guidance document with tailor-made solutions considering the Estonian conditions in a changing climate. So this is the document that we are using today, and it provides quite a lot of different options, including sustainable drainage, systems, on stormwater management, on green gardens, green roofs, and they all take into account what is possible to do in Estonia and how it could have effect in Estonia. Another interesting thing that we are using now is that we have a so-called interactive building and construction guide. So it's a web-based tool. Everybody can use it, local people, officials, and this is the tool that helps you to identify these different aspects that you need to consider when designing your living environment, when you're planning to construct a house or a new building. What other aspects you have to take into account, especially when it comes to the water management. So all these different solutions are described in this guide, and everybody can use it and select the most appropriate for themselves. And the similar thing, what is in preparation, in progress now is interactive street design guide. The previous one was the interactive construction guide, and this one is the interactive street design guide. And the similar tool actually exists already at the global level. You can access it from this web page address that you can see on the screen. But this the street guide will provide similar help for those who are concerned about water issues and water management in urban areas. So you can look up different solutions that could work for you and how to implement them and how to manage them in the longer run. What we do in practice in Estonia, I must say that there's no surprise. We do the same things as in the rest of Europe. The difference is that today we give a clear priority for projects that are so-called nature-based solutions and consider more the natural aspects of water management. Infrastructure investments have lower support rate, and this is one of the instruments that we are trying to use to guide the process process towards more sustainable water management. And in urban areas, we work with retention ponds, ditches, stormwater treatment systems, permeable roads, parking lots, and stuff like that. And in rural areas, we focus on buffer zones, rivers, remeandering rivers, slowing down the rivers, vegetation planting, and I believe that this is quite similar to many other European countries. What is new in Estonia and what we managed to start this year was the project on restoring wetlands in forest areas, and I believe that this is quite a rare example in Europe, and this means that we have turned back a forest area into a wetland area, and we looking forward to see the actual benefits from this. And there is quite a lot of discussion around it. Is it a good or bad? But we believe that this could be one of the good examples how to make the water management systems more resilient. Another example, which is again quite interesting from Estonian perspective, is to find appropriate solutions for flood-prone areas. This is, from one hand, it's a good example, but it's also a bad example because clearly this is a flood-prone area, and there is alternative use for this area, but this alternative use is not technically viable because you see these solar panels here are under the water, but if there would be a good technical solution and these solar panels would be a little bit higher, we could find a good alternative use for the flood-prone area, for instance, in rural areas. And quite exceptional, again, what we do in Estonia is that there are certain dedicated flood areas that we are proud of having. These are flooded regularly, but people are quite acceptable for this situation, and every year when these certain areas are flooded, we try to use them in a way that we could benefit from this bad situation. As you can see from these pictures, we organize canoe trips and other recreational activities in these areas. To conclude my introduction, there are perhaps 5 things to recommend or to conclude to achieve climate resilience through sustainable water management. First of all, to embrace nature-based solutions. Second, implement adaptive water management policies in order to consider the climate change. Thirdly, invest in sustainable infrastructure, but give more priority for nature-based solutions. Fourth one, foster cross-sectoral collaboration. And the fifth one, to promote public awareness, because everything depends on us. We have to know the environment where we live. We have to get the information, and then only we can make good decisions. So this is introduction from my side. Thank you very much. I stay open for any questions that you may have. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rene, for outlining this approach. Very interesting work that you're doing in Estonia. I would like just one little point on your last point, saying that public awareness raising that you're doing. So I remember you also showed us that you have these monitors in the cities where people can see what is the situation actually. So this real-time monitoring. Would you recommend that also to other cities to do, so to get also more awareness?
The public awareness depends on what we know. We don't know about things if we don't know information about these things. So the knowledge, the knowing is everything, and therefore every tool or every possibility that you can give out information to people of what is going on around you in the environment around you, in your living environment, in the natural environment, it is all beneficial to acknowledge the problems that you might have, and to improve the cooperation with different target groups, different groups of people. Because if you don't have the public support from those people that you work with, it's difficult to move forward, and it's difficult to adjust in these different situations that we might face in the future because of the changing climate. So therefore, whatever the means, whatever the possibilities to give out more information, to make the information visible, accessible easily through different data systems, it's all beneficial for a wider environmental awareness and knowledge sharing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a question here in the chat, which comes from Petra Proshnik. She's asking, how are you slowing down the rivers? Do you have any specific approach?
For rivers, we are facing the problem that many rivers are heavily modified or artificial in terms of previous impacts from the agricultural sector. And in order to slow down the rivers, this is quite intensive, is to change back the rivers to make them more natural. We call it re-meandering, that I mentioned as well on my slide. This is one of the options. You have to select carefully the areas where you do this, because in certain agricultural areas, you have to do quite the opposite. You have to straighten the rivers and keep the rivers open in order to take away the water. But in general, yes, indeed, that's one of the most effective measure to make rivers back as natural as they could be. Of course, you can add some artificial elements there, like change the sediments or the bottom of the river. It could also help to slow down the flow rate. But there are other technical aspects like artificial ponds or artificial water collection areas that you can add to close to the river to hold back the water flowing to the river. So different options available there.
Thank you. Thank you very much for explaining that. So lots of things going on in the chat. We have several offers for collaboration with you, which goes from a proposal from Rocio Mendez, who says that they have floating solar panels in Spain in the water reservoirs. And they're happy to discuss with you how they're working and their performance. And then from Volodymyr, we have an offer to collaborate on partnerships. They have in Rivne, Ukraine, they have interest to implement such projects now. And Ferenc is asking for some links to projects like the large-scale forest transformation that you mentioned, to wetlands, or the connection of floods to tourism like canoeing. So I don't know, maybe we can do some good practices about it that we can then share with people. Another offer for partnership with Emilia-Romagna region, which is also facing a flooding situation in Italy. So here I could also say we're happy also, Diana, to share information that came out of the recent peer reviews on flooding and droughts. And maybe you would like to ask for a peer review on that issue where we could help you. We have a question from Annika, who is asking, how do you cope with private land and water management? For example, flood prevention might not be possible since there is no public land available. So if it's not public land, it's private land, how do you cope with that water management issue?
Yeah, well, this is, again, it depends whether you are in a rural area or urban area. From Estonian perspective, this is from where we start is that there is a legal obligation for every private landowner that with or without your activity, you must in no case cause flooding for your neighbors or other nearby areas. So every landowner has this obligation to take all the necessary measures in order to prevent flooding. So this is the first thing. But I know we have similar cases where there are areas flooded which are completely privately owned. There are many private owners nearby, and they cannot agree who should take the responsibility to implement measures to prevent flooding. So this is quite a common problem. In those cases, the only recommendation that I can give, and what I have given to my colleagues, is to try to cooperate, try to find agreements, or at least try to facilitate the cooperation between the landowners to find the ways or to find the part of the land that could be used for the flood prevention, or at least to build something, infrastructure, for instance, to avoid flooding or to make the effects of flooding less serious. If this doesn't work, try to find something that you could do in the public land or on the land that belongs to either to the public or to the local government or to the state. And basically, these are the two options. And if these do not work, then yeah, it's difficult to offer anything else. So I think again, what I said already earlier, people would have to understand what is the problem, where does it come from. If they do understand it, then we can cooperate, and then we can find solutions that could be acceptable for everyone.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand. And we will have another presentation on that specific question a little bit later from Jasper, who is also, working on these public-private partnerships and has some solutions from West Flanders. So there is another option, another offer for collaboration with the Landscape Architecture Department of the Estonian University of Life Sciences, which you can look into. And we have a last question, which I'm going to take here, and we can keep other questions for later, from Annika Hiller. She's asking if you have any funding programs for private people for flood prevention.
Not quite sure. Usually the funding goes through local governments. So if there is a need for private persons to get funding, they would have to turn to their local government first. But in certain cases, I'm quite sure that there is something available also for private people as well. But I must say that in Estonia, it is not that popular for private people to apply for funding, because the co-financing rates for private persons is usually quite high, and that is not an attractive option. So usually we try to do these fundings through local governments.
Thank you very much, Rene, for all your answers. Thank you for everybody already for starting a good discussion with your questions. We'll come back later, so if you have forgotten any question, we can still take it at the end. So thank you for your excellent presentation. You will also see you have comments to this end in the chat already, so thank you, Rene. And with this, we will go to our good practices on blue infrastructure, and we will start off with Agnieszka, who is going to speak about urban distributed control micro-retention systems. So, Agnieszka, the word is yours.
Thank you, Astrid. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this webinar. Can you see my screen?
And please put it in full mode.
Okay.
Is this down? Yeah, down there.
Okay, it should be fine now.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yeah.
So my name is Agnieszka Nędza, and I work as a project implementation specialist for Rzeszów Regional Development Agency in Poland, which is the partner for the NBS for local project. And I'm on behalf of that project here. And I'm going to present a good practice that we selected during this project's implementation, which is called Aquares. Aquares is a company that was founded and still is working in Rzeszów, and it's a company that provides some kind of a technical solution for preventing urban cities from flooding. It's the project that its value is above 1 million Polish zloty, which is approximately around 300,000 euros. The challenge that this solution is addressing is the flood problems, which nowadays is very often met due to the fact that the climate change is going rapidly, and we are facing rapidly increasing rainfalls. For example, we had also the flood in our western area a few weeks ago, and it's caused by the fact that in the city we've got some solid areas, and most of the cities are covered with concrete and asphalt, and that causes that the water has got no place to soak. So Aquares invited the solution which faces this challenge. How does it work? This system is built on the fact that there are two tanks. There is an upper and a lower tank. The upper tank is collecting water from the roof slope, and the lower tank is collecting water from the surrounding area. There is also a photovoltaic panel which helps to reduce the energy use. So later on you will see some animation how does it work. As I also mentioned, it uses tank, and it uses smart solution, some kind of a AI technology which uses weather forecast to which helps to manage this tool. And what are the benefits for the users? First of all, this is water collected, but not only, as I mentioned, it's the only challenge is to prevent the flooding, and it also helps to reduce the energy use. What is the future potential for the company? For now, the company is acting only locally, but this is the solution that could be. We see that it could be used globally, and it could help many areas. And now this is the visualization. So these are also the details for the owner of this solution, and that would be all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Agnieszka, for this very nice presentation that you have just been making for your system. May I kick off with a little question? Did you how many installations do you have already in Rzeszów?
Only one.
Only one. And is it in a public building?
Yes, it's in one of the high school in our area.
And are you planning to roll it out to more buildings, like public buildings, for example?
To be honest, I'm not able to say that because I'm not the owner of this company. I know that they have some plans, but when will they do that? I just don't know. I can't say it. But there are such plans.
In the city, do you have any other accompanying measures? Because you said that you have a lot of surface sealing. Anything else that you are doing, like any citizen programs to get out all the tiles and plant more plants, anything like that you're foreseeing?
For now, I'm not able to confirm.
Okay, thank you very much, Agnieszka. So if we have any questions in the chat, I don't see any. I don't know, Magda, if you have seen any questions so far. No. Okay, well, a big thank you. It looks like a very interesting system that you're having there, something similar I've seen in the Netherlands, working with greenhouses and their retention systems to make sure that the water is not released all at once. So very interesting. Thank you, Agnieszka. And we're going to our next presentation where we're going to focus more on the renaturalization of the inland delta of the Nida River. So, Wojciech?
Astrid, in the meantime, we have one question in the chat, actually.
We have a question. We have a question, Agnieszka. Would you be able to say how it works in cold conditions, the systems?
But what do you mean by cold condition?
Winter, 0 degrees, minus 10 degrees.
No, I don't have such information. You can also, if you want, you can also only contact the owner with the details that are in the video. So he will be able to give you such information in details.
Very good. We will do that. We will collect some of the questions. If you have more questions, we will try to answer you in writing. Thank you.
You can also send these questions to me, and I will do my best to receive the answer from the owner.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We
Thank
stay in Poland and go to Wojciech. So the Nida River, which is in a landscape park which I cannot pronounce. So you can maybe help with that and let us know how you have been renaturalizing the inland delta of the Nida River. So please go ahead. We can see everything perfectly in full mode.
Perfectly. Brilliant. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wojciech, and today I have some problems here. I'm sorry. Okay. And today I have the honor of representing the complex of Świętokrzyskie and Nida River landscape parks, which are located in Kielce. We are the coordinating beneficiary of the project Renaturalisation of the inland delta of the Nida River, which I will briefly present to you today. And at the same time, we are also a stakeholder in the Interreg project NACAO, nature-based carbon offsets, led by the Andalusia regional government with the Świętokrzyskie Voivodeship, the Department of Regional Development of the Marshal Office as the Polish partner. It is very difficult to describe the entire Life for Delta project in just a few minutes because it was made by last 6 years, but I will do my best to outline the environmental issue we encountered and our attempt to address it. Oh, sorry. Okay. The delta is the area where the Nida River, upon entering, slows down, deposits its sediments, builds up its bed, and approximately every 200 years shifts its course, creating an area full of oxbows and old river beds. And because of that, it behaves exactly like a river at its mouth into the sea, with the difference that the sea is about 450 kilometers from us. So this has created an area of exceptional natural value, which in the 80s, last century, was included into local agricultural development plans. So drainage works were carried out, which led to the area starting to dry up, as can be seen in the photos above. Like you can see on the left, the photo from the mid-90s, more or less, and the same spot made at 2017. It's the same story here on those photos. Like it's almost the same spot on the left, photo from the 90s, on the right from the 2018, just before we started our project. So we tried to restore and stabilize the hydrological system of Nida River and its inland delta area based on the natural processes on more than 400 hectares. So, few important informations. It's a 6-year implementation period between 2019 and 2024. So we're going to end this project within the next 2 months, but probably we're gonna prolong it for the next 9 months because we didn't finish everything like we planned to do. Total budget is almost 5.5 million euros with 60% of EU contribution, 30% of our national fund for environmental protection and water management, and 10% of our own funds. We are the coordinating beneficiary, while the co-beneficiaries includes National Forest, the Pińczów Forest District, so the local forest district, and the Polish Academy of Sciences and the University of Agriculture in Kraków. Very small map of the almost all area of our project, but the main aim of it was to restore the natural flow of the water of delta area, improvement of the water retention capacity of the area, creation of favorable condition for the restoring the wetland ecosystems, and to increasing of biodiversity. So we restored the flow in the so-called feeder. It's the it was a channel 3 kilometers. It's on this photo. 3 kilometers of the length. It's marked on yellow, just on the top of the map. That's the result. We also restored the flow in the old riverbed called Old Nida. That's the photo. Just before our works, it's around almost 6.5 kilometers of length. It's marked on dark blue on the map. That's the result. The Umianowicki stream, it's after our works, but it's almost 5.5 kilometers, and it's marked on as a light blue on the map. And other oxbow lakes and eutrophic reservoirs marked on red on the map. So since today we restored almost 20 kilometers of old riverbeds, and at the same time we restored, that's the result, I'm sorry. And we restored almost 9 hydrotechnical infrastructure which was on this region, and they were built in the late 70s and 80s. And were completely destroyed when we came to this area. Also, please notice this green mark because that's our environmental educational center, on which I will tell a little bit later. So that's the photo of the area at the beginning of our works, and ultimately we converted into this. Of course, please have in mind that that's not the visualization of the area for the all time of the year. It's just let's say this spring water that was collected on this area. So more or less we are able to store up to 2 million cubic meters of spring water, which contributes to increased water retention, significant maintenance of biodiversity in this area, especially during the frequent and prolonged periods of drought, which we had on this year in Poland. We have also developed a water management methodology. So thanks to the renovated hydrological infrastructure, we are now able to manage water in a sustainable way, allowing the simultaneously functioning of environmental, hydrological, and local economic needs. So the management system we have implemented allows for agricultural activities in the area, such as mowing and grazing of, for example, Polish horses that you can see on the photo. We have 18 of them. Also, we have cattle and sheep and so on. But it also improves the condition of natural habitats, which in turn supports the return of species that disappeared from this area due to mistakes made several decades ago. And this includes amphibians, reptiles, birds, and fish. There's a lot of species that we're trying to reintroduce on this area within this project, and I don't have time to tell you about all of them. I can say that we're at the brink of reintroduction of European pond turtle, which was on this area but disappeared around 20 years ago, and we have 50 of young individuals, and next week we are going for another 100. The area also has become a platform for further analysis, such as flood control, flood wave attenuation. It's made by the Agricultural University in Krakow for us. They are doing all of the hydrology within the project. Also, we're trying to analyze the firefighting because we had many fires within this area. Also, we're trying to verify other ecosystem functions, such as purification functions. So the flow of the water through wetland areas, incorporation of nutrients into the structure of the vegetations, and so on. Additionally, the reintroduction of freshwater mussels, especially Uniocrassus, supports water self-purification process, and we have a quite large experience with the Uniocrassus reintroduction within the rivers.
2 minutes, please. Yes?
2 minutes. Okay, so it's a very broad, multidisciplinary, and comprehensive approach to the so-called healthy river valley issue. We're trying also to replicate it. We can replicate it for almost any river in Poland and Europe. We are trying to replicate it right now with the help of the Greece and Spain, with the strong support of Luxembourg. We submitted a new life project. Hold your thumbs. We're gonna have the results probably at February. And the last thing, as an institution, we not only carry out the active nature conservation efforts, but also we are trying to educate a lot of kids as possible, because we're trying to address the remedy for the nature deficit disorder, and it's very vastly seen within the Polish kids population, and probably not only Polish ones. So we trained nearly 14,000 kids through last 2 years. We have 4,000 individual tourists, and everything is based within the educational center, which you can see on the photo. It's newly built like 2 years ago. We just opened it. So basically that's it. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I'm open for them.
Thank you very much. And first of all, big congratulations. It's really looking very impressive what you have been achieving. I have a first question, which is you restored now about 20 kilometers of the old river.
Yes.
You said you have 2 million cubic meters that you can store there, and it costs something around 5.5 million euros to do that. So what is the economic impact from your point of view? We have just learned in northern France, only the latest 2 floods that they had, they were costing 1 billion euro in damages.
Yes, we can. We didn't have a big flooding through last year, so we are not able to see right now and say what's happening when the flooding is happening on the region, I'm pretty sure that we can flatten up the flooding wave, because we can store a lot of water within this area, within this wetlands, but also those purification efforts that we are trying to achieve through the reintroduction of the freshwater mussels. So we calculated some years ago that when we reintroduce what we plan to reintroduce into the Nida River, we will be not so small, how to say, the waste cleaning plant for the region. So that's also another ecosystem service that we are doing, and it can be calculated economically. Also, the touristic infrastructure that we're trying to build close to this area, that also helped local people to start with the agrotourism farms. There are only 2 of them within the region, but 2 of them were started when we started the project. So people are looking onto it, and they see the potential. They see the potential of the nature within this area.
Thank you very much. We have a question also from Joanna.
Yeah.
She's asking, what did the local stakeholders think of the project? Were they for the project or against it? And has this changed over time? Maybe it did.
We didn't have many problems, let's say, because I remember the question just before about the for example, owners of the land. We bought a lot of lands in this area, so big part of this area is in our control, and if not, we made many agreements with the local owners that we don't have any problems with them if it's going about the flooding or whatever. But if it's going about the stakeholders, most of them are happy, because if we can look on the local government, for example, the local, not the regional one, they're happy because we are trying to do something with the, let's say, forgotten village, where we built our educational center, where we, to use colloquial word, pumped many million euros into the nature, into the infrastructure, and so on. So basically, all of the stakeholders are quite happy. Also, the universities, the local universities in Krakow, also they are taking a lot of data from this area, so they can then use it for their own.
That sounds very good. I mean, that you're like reviving a rural area, that you bring again a little bit of business over there with the agrotourism and you know, the education center, maybe also some technical installations that you're having there. So very good. So we had a similar question to who were the owners of the land. You have already answered that a little bit.
Most of them are ours.
Is us, and how were they compensated? So the compensation question, did you compensate the other owners, the private owners, in any way?
If we can't buy, we're trying to lease it. So yes, they are financial compensations. Yeah.
So we had a question from Rene, who asked, did you study or consider any economic or financial data to explain the decisions in relation to economic needs of agriculture and forestry?
We don't want to maybe these lands are not for the agriculture use, let's say. We are maybe it's not the exact answer, but what we are doing over there, they are just mowing and grazing by the cattle or horses, and basically that's the end of the agriculture activities within this area. If it's going about the forest, we have one action focused on the forest, but it's focused on the riparian forests, which are on this area. We had we tried to plant trees and bushes associated with the riparian forest within this area for the 5 hectares. And also we have, but in the bit different location, another complex, big complex of the riparian forests. It's more than 100 hectares, which we involved into the project, and we are building the hydrological infrastructure surrounding it, just to fulfill all of the hydrological issues that we had over there.
Thank you very much. We also have another question from Rene, actually, with regard to the freshwater mussels. So,
Yes.
In the natural self-purification process,
yes,
how replicable you think is this method for other European river systems?
Very replicable, very. Few weeks ago, like 2-3 weeks ago, we just sent the proposal for the New Life project, which is completely associated with the freshwater mussels and their protection and the reintroduction within the various European rivers. That's why we are trying to reintroduce proper species for the Spercheios River in Greece, for example. And on the other hand, we're trying to do the same with the Ebro River in Spain. So we'll try to do. So yes, we're trying to replicate within completely different context and completely different countries, and yeah, hopefully it's gonna be succeed.
Thank you very much. Sounds very promising as well, especially if you help the Ebro Delta, that would be lovely. We have another question from Ferenc, who asks if the Nida crosses municipalities and how the urban sections align with the restoration project. And he also thanks you for this very nice presentation. So, but it's a very interesting question, how the urban sections are actually relating to that.
Basically, they are not related with this problem, with these project actions, because the closest urban place, let's say, is located like it's 10 kilometers down the Nida River, so we on the rural, completely rural areas. Of course, the local village Umianowice, which is very small village, wasn't affected by the project actions. So yeah, I'm not sure how many municipalities. If it's going about the municipalities. Oh, Nida crosses. I can't answer that question. Maybe
it's
not
okay.
many,
It's okay.
10, 15. That's the maximum. But I won't say the exact number.
No worries about it. If you have more information about that aspect, we can also exchange it later,
Yes.
and you can let us know. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of congratulations to you for this nice presentation as well.
Thank you.
You got a lot of clapping hands and hearts as well. So thank you, and we're going now to hear from West Flanders in Belgium. I think it was very interesting to hear what you said, Wojciech, about your buying back land as well. So it's a very interesting method I've heard about several times already from Poland. So maybe that's also something for you in West Flanders, if it's possible. So here we go. We will speak about public-private collaboration to buffer water against flooding and drought. So Jaspers, the word is yours.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon from me too. I'm Jasper Dugardeyn and I'm working for the province of West Flanders in Belgium. And today I will present you our project on a public-private collaboration to buffer water against flooding and drought. We are part of the Go4Water Interreg Europe project, which aims to change governance in water management. And our specific topic within the project is we want to try to involve different stakeholders, farmers, inhabitants in the water management, not only by giving their thoughts to us, but really investing financially also. Just the context of the area, as I said, we are located in West Flanders. So we manage about 3,650 kilometers of waterways. I call them smaller waterways, as you can see on the picture. So that means we are in the upstream part of the basin. In Flanders, water management, or the responsibility for the water management, is based on catchment area of the waterways. So we are in the most upstream part. What is also very important to notice is that West Flanders has a very water-intensive agriculture. There is a very intense production of both potatoes and vegetables, both for the fresh market, but especially for industrial use. So we have a huge freezing capacity, for instance. Of course, just as other countries or regions, we are also faced with climate change, which on the level of drought means that for our province, before our agriculture was called to be rain-fed, well as up until the recent, let's say, 10 years, we are faced with periods of drought already. But drought days, those are days that precipitation will be less than 0.1 millimeter of rain, will increase by 40% by 2100. The hydrological drought, as a result, will increase by 80%. So hydrological drought is when the flow of the river is less than 95% of the long-term average on that particular day. So these hydrological drought will increase by 80%. And the agricultural drought will increase by 300% by 2100. So a day of agricultural drought is when the crops experience drought stress due to reduced soil moisture levels. Now, during drought periods, farmers irrigate their crops mostly with water that they capture from the waterways. But as hydrological drought is also supposed to increase, that shows that we actually have a double problem in the future. Regarding flooding, in total, on a yearly basis, it will rain more in West Flanders or in Flanders, but there will be less rain days. So that means that the rain will become in bigger amounts on a shorter period, leading to peak discharges that will increase. So if we have a discharge that occurs every 50 years now, due to climate change, we will see that these peak discharges every 10 years, leading to the numbers of buildings at risk for flooding to increase from 7.5% to 11%. So how we cope with it up until now, the classic approach, and we will keep on using this approach, that's what we call large-scale controlled flooding areas. So their first priority is to prevent flooding. They are, as you can see on the picture, they are actually big water basins that we dug out next to the waterway. And as the water levels in the waterways reach critical levels, there is an overflow guiding the water towards these buffers, reducing the stress on downstream villages. These are public investments. The areas are publicly accessible, so they have to be on provincial property. That means that we have to acquire land. But as you probably know, Flanders is very densely populated. And as we have these really fertile soils, the price of the land is very expensive. Moreover, farmers are really reluctant to sell their lands. So that's a big issue for us. To do those projects, we have to acquire the lands. We try to make these areas multifunctional. As you can see on the picture, there is a bridge for pedestrians, so we try to have some recreation over there. But another important function of these buffers is that we want to store water so it can be used for irrigation purposes. As these basins are filled using an overflow, that means that the water storage has to be below ground level. So large quantities of soil have to be removed, and we can't just bring them to areas that get flooded. So we actually have to bring them to good agriculture grounds So once again, we need the cooperation of farmers, but they are, of course, reluctant because we have to put bad soil onto their fertile soils. So to cope with these, we have started to work on small-scale controlled flooding areas, which are public-private collaboration. In the contrary of the large-scale controlled flooding areas, the first priority of these areas is to store water, so for irrigation purposes, but they are still fed with overflow. It's a private storage, so that means that we realize these buffers not on our own ground, but on a location of the farmer. And then he becomes owner of the infrastructure and the water for at least 20 years. If possible, we try to make them also multifunctional, as you, for instance, on this picture, the larger pond in the back, that's the irrigation storage, and we have added a small pond for amphibians that does not fall dry. So this water can't be used for irrigation. The province designs and realizes the storage, so we pay for it, and the infrastructure in the rivers or in the streams to feed or to fill the controlled flooding area. What's of the responsibility of the farmer? That is that we do not buy his land, so he has to foresee a location, and also he has to dispose of the removed soil, of course, according to the approved license. So what are required means for us as a province? A very important part of the staff is that we need what we call a field worker. He's not a technical expert, or she's not a technical expert, but you have to be able to talk with farmers and to go into interaction by which you can really outline the conditions that are favorable for both farmer and us as a province. So, and it's only then when we have outlined these conditions, only then we will start employing our technical people that really go through design, application, permits, and realization for the storage and infrastructure. As for financial means, we estimate those projects on a provincial cost of about 60,000 euros per project. And so far, we follow the principle of a lot of small ones also make a big one. We have been able to realize 19,000 cubic meters of buffer as a protection against floods and 24,000 cubic meters as water storage. Moreover, we have been able by this way to reduce transport of water or less pumping, as the water buffers, the water storage, are located closer to the end user of the water. So the question, is this a transferable idea or principle? I think it really is, because it's demand driven. We don't approach farmers ourselves. The farmers approach us saying, there is a stream next to my grounds and I need the water. Can we work together? Can you help us to get this water? And only if we also as a province have a benefit from it, only then we can work together. If we compare the budget to our bigger projects where we have to buy the grounds and get rid of the soil, we come up that the price per cubic meter is about the same. So it's actually, or even lower. So it's financially an interesting way of working for us as a province. Although we have to admit that the staff demand, it's a little bit more time consuming, because we have to have a lot of talks between province and farmer to get the outline of the projects really, really fine. I think this solution is mostly suitable for upstream locations. And with upstream locations, I mean both on a basin level. So as the volumes that we store or buffer are rather small, if you want to see an effect on the level of your waterway, this, I think, is mainly feasible in smaller waterways or next to smaller waterways. But also with upstream, I mean, we only realize this kind of projects if they are upstream of for instance, a town that is often flooded, and it's close enough to that town. So this certain location, we can do a project, but exactly the same location that is downstream of a town, we won't do a project like this. What's also important, I have added a small sketch here on the principle. So this is the waterway. In the large controlled flooding areas, we do not have this brown overflow pipe. That means that the buffers only fill when the water levels and the waterways get to alarm levels, and then they overflow and fill the buffer. So actually our buffer volume is bigger or is used later. Whereas at a small scale, as the priority is to save the water, we have an overflow pipe that is lower. So as soon as the water levels are high enough, the saving volume fills up again, leaving a smaller buffer volume in times of too much water. But using valves or other ways, it's very easy to switch priority between saving and between flood prevention.
Jasper, 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, but this was my last slide, so I don't know if there are any more questions.
Oh, thank you very much. So I was coming a little bit too early. Thank you for your presentation and for presenting these buffer schemes. I have a first question. Is like you said how many cubic meters you have for water storage and protection against droughts. How many farmers have been participating in this program?
A lot of farmers have asked us for a project, but we have really strict limitation on which locations we can do a project. Because as I said, there has to be gain for both farmer and province. And it has to be financially interesting, so the geography should account to. So I think that the numbers I've shown are now from 5 realized projects, but we are constantly having, let's say, 3 or 4 projects every year that we are starting to realize as these projects go on.
And do you have already any impact assessment with regard to floods, or is it too early?
No, it's too early. You have to have, of course, the event has to occur, but also we do not have models of all our waterways. As we have 3,650 kilometers of waterways, we do not have models. So if there is a lot of rain, it's really difficult to say this town now did not flood because of this small investment we did. So we actually base the success of these projects on the total cubic meters that can be stored.
That would also be the main interest of the farmers, I guess, the water storage, so
of
they
course,
have
availability. For the farmers, it's the main interest is storage. So that's why we also add this overflow pipe, which shifts the focus of buffer towards saving water.
Thank you very much. We have a question from Rene. How does the design flexibility of these small-scale water storage areas allow them to balance flood prevention, with the increasing need for water retention during droughts?
You can change a lot by these overflow pipes and putting valves on there so you can direct which way the water is flowing. For now, these systems, we just put them in there, but we expect as technology changes and predictions become better and better, we will move more towards actually really steering. Let's say if rain is expected to have the buffer emptied before the rain occurs, making the buffer a flood prevention buffer. But during summer, when no rains are expected, we want to have the storage level as full as possible. And now it can be done manually, but I think as technology improves, there are big steps to be taken.
Thank you very much. We don't have another question, so if you still have one, please put it. We have another small example, which we have from Tuuli Versalu, who is sending another example also from Estonia, saying within Tallinn's boundaries is the bog Pescula, which the city is restoring while organizing action days with the residents. So another example, you find the link here. And we have one other question from Rene. What lessons have you learned from working with farmers in West Flanders that might be applicable to other regions with different water usage and agricultural practices, their willingness to cooperate, reasonability?
I think the biggest lesson is farmers are willing to participate and actually to finance these solutions as they see that water is becoming more and more necessary for them. If a farmer has had a few years in a row where his harvest fails because of drought, and if you can work together, then the willingness is there for sure. As I said in the introduction, there still is enough water in West Flanders. On a yearly basis, it just does not fall on the right time. So if we work together, and that's something farmers really appreciate, we can have benefits for both farmer and province. And moreover, the farmer does not lose his land. If after 20 years or more, the farmer decides to do something else, the land is still his.
Thank you very much, Jasper. I'm sorry for this presentation. It's also a very interesting solution that you have been bringing, especially also because it shows some good examples on how to collaborate with farmers, how to have like a win-win situation for both sides. So very interesting example from West Flanders. Which brings us to our last round, asking our speakers just to give us some key factors and important points or takeaways that they take from this webinar on blue infrastructure. I'd like to start with Wojciech. Maybe you can start by saying what are your key takeaways?
Key takeaways. I'm very happy to be involved within this webinar. I heard a lot of interesting information about how water management is looking within different countries, and I'm looking forward to also find some partners with the new projects which are in my mind, and yeah.
A big thank you also for sharing your experience in Poland, because it looks like there's a lot of interesting things coming up, which we also have from Agnieszka. So what is your key takeaway or key interest that you're seeing?
Actually, my key takeaways are similar, and it was great to see all the ideas and all the projects that are run around Europe. And I'm quite proud that most of them were from Poland. So big thank you for providing us with this solution, and I also hope that maybe we can provide some and make some cooperations with participants in the future.
Very good. It's very good to hear that you're open for collaboration. You have excellent experiences that you can bring, and maybe you will be peers in the next peer review that we're organizing. So that would be really lovely to see that. Yeah, going back to Belgium, Jasper, what is your key takeaway? Have you been getting any inspiration from this webinar?
Yeah, I think that although the scale of the different projects was really different, be it in the questions or in the presentation, every time comes up, how do you cope with farmers, inhabitants? So I think that the main issue in water management in the future is how to involve people in this water management. And we cannot do it as public authorities alone, I think.
That's a very important point that you're saying. We will try to provide some answers in the last webinar of the series on the 29th. Is this correct, Magda, of October by heart? So a very important point of collaboration. We hear this always over and over again, which gives the last word to you, really, Rene. What are your key takeaways?
Well, what I've heard from other presentations as well, and what I understand and get from these questions, then we do many things in Europe. We have a lot of experience. We have the future that we don't know exactly what will happen because of the changing climate, but we have good plans and we have good examples. And these examples show us that if we can explain the benefits of needed changes of what we have to do or what is important for us, then people will come along and they will support our actions. And the other aspect is that is the understanding of what we do. If we share information, if we communicate with people, if we consider their concerns, their opinions, then we can make our life much more easier. We can cooperate better and we can achieve our goals in a much faster and easier way. So these examples that I heard today, I think they prove it quite well, and these are the ones that we should learn from.
Thank you very much, Rene, for these kind words. I think this collaboration has a lot of knowledge already available. What we're trying to do with these events is bring a part of this, helping to capitalize on what you have already been doing, sharing it with other regions. And so thank you very much to all the speakers for your availability to share with other people what you are doing. And hopefully, as you have mentioned, being open for collaboration in the future. So we will do our best to further distribute interesting examples and good practices and bring you together. Maybe we should organize a big workshop on floods and droughts. That seems to be a subject which is going around all of Europe with a big interest. So we will. We're seeing here in the chat that a lot of very positive remarks and big thank yous for your presentations. Also from our part, thank you also for the colleagues for all the preparation, to Magda, to Valentine. And we would ask our participants to be so kind to answer the survey that you have there, to tell us what you think and what you would need in the future, and be in contact if you need any further information or want to benefit of our services. And with this, thank you very much, and see you hopefully next week when we're talking about green infrastructure, or on the 24th of October and on the 29th of October when we are speaking about citizen participation. So how can we work together with the different stakeholders in your areas, hopefully to have some successful projects. So thank you very much and see you soon. Bye-bye for now.